Here's a build to try, the basic build. This is your bread and butter, simplistic, no strings attached loud build that'll work on any difficulty you like, including the newly added death sentence. It's not complicated, it doesn't require advanced knowledge of game mechanics, it's just a reliable build that will make loud heists easier on you and your team. Much like my older good build video, but updated for the recent difficulty rebalance and requiring absolutely no DLC. Although if you do own the Ultimate Edition, you may get some extra mileage. Regardless, let's take a look at my skill points. In Mastermind, under the Medic branch, I get Basic Combat Medic, and then Ace Painkillers, Combat Doctor, and Inspire. This is hardly surprising. Inspire is still one of, if not the best skill in the game for higher difficulties. Without it, as unfortunate as it is to admit, you're a handicap on death sentence. Moving swiftly onto Enforcer, under the Tank branch, I'll ace Resilience and Transporter, get Basic Shock and Awe and Bullseye, and ace Iron Man. Simple, expected skills for any armor build, and Basic Bullseye is important for the armor gating effect. It'll save your life more often than you realize. Next up in Ammo Specialist, I'm getting Basic Scavenger, acing Portable Saw, Extra Lead, and Fully Loaded. The Saw will save time and earn dosh in plenty of heists, but the main focus here is ammo bags and Fully Loaded. As I've mentioned, Inspire is a borderline necessity, so many players will bring upgraded doctor bags and no extra ammo. So both of these skills should keep you and your crew's guns filled up. Moving on to Technician, this may raise some eyebrows, but I'm gonna grab Basic Hardware Expert in the Breacher branch. I couldn't care one way or the other about the drills being silent, I'm in it for the faster repair speed. Trust me, it'll make sense when I get this build's final skills. Next up in Oppressor, I'll be acing Steady Grip and Lock and Load and grabbing Basic Surefire. These skills all go towards improving our primary weapon, and I can understand that many of you may think this is far too many skill points to be improving a single weapon, but in Payday's new balance, weapons can actually, well, kill things, so getting the most out of them is actually worthwhile, as opposed to the old meta of all of your points being spent on survival and only opting for weapons that don't require skills to function. I hope you get where I'm coming from. With that out of the way, I'll hop over to Ghost under the Artful Dodger branch to get Basic Duck and Cover, Parkour, and Shockproof. The first two skills are a given, and Basic Shockproof is actually more than enough when it comes to dealing with tasers. The skill has several chances to work while being tased, and the math works out to about a 97% immunity rate to being incapacitated by tasers. Shoutouts to the long guide. Another questionable choice perhaps, but I'll be grabbing Basic Second Wind in the Silent Killer branch. I had a skill point left over, and that 30% movement speed increase when my armor breaks can be the difference between making it to cover or dying out in the open. If you intend to play the new 1-down modifier, you'll want to forget this skill and save the point for Fugitive, the final tree, where unsurprisingly I'll be spending the minimum amount of points in Revenant to ace Swan Song. But if you intend to play 1 down, you can use that extra skill point you saved to grab aced 9 lives as opposed to a basic version of either tier 2 skill. Even after the nerf, Swan Song is still a must-have for higher difficulties. Getting yourself to cover, inspiring a teammate just in the nick of time, or using the infinite ammo to clear out a corridor, this skill is simply too good to pass up. This is also why we grabbed Basic Hardware Expert earlier. I'll explain in more detail once we get in game. For now, I'll be sorting out the rest of my kit. My perk deck of choice will be Armorer for, well, armor, not to mention the faster regeneration and 2 seconds of invincibility upon my armor being stripped away. If you only intend to play on Mayhem or below, you could also opt for Muscle instead, or frankly any armor-oriented perk deck you fancy. I'm only recommending Armorer because it fits this build splendidly, being a simple, straightforward, and free option. Now for the firearms. In the primary slot, I'll be using the UAR, the most white bread assault rifle available to DLC-less players. I'll modify it with the long barrel, the tank compensator, or the competitor's compensator if you're able, an accuracy boost, the A3 tactical foregrip, the LED combo, bonus points for using a pink laser, the Raptor polymer body, a speed pull mag if you're able, and a sight of choice. After the difficulty rebalance, the new breakpoint of interest for 150 some odd ammo rifles is 64 damage, reducing the number of shots needed to kill lightweight enemies on Death Wish and above to 2. Of all of the assault rifles in this class, both free or otherwise, the UAR can hit this breakpoint while retaining a usable 84 accuracy. 96 stability is close enough to max, and if you're using the competitor's compensator, you'll have perfect stability. I'll talk more about the UAR later, but for now let's move over to the secondary slot. You'll want to have a saw ready to go just in case you need it, modded with an ammo boost, fast motor, and durable blade. However, for heists where a saw is not required, you'll want the compact 40mm grenade launcher. It's best to slap an accuracy boost on there, and a gadget or sight if you so desire. The first and thus far only free grenade launcher, the compact does damage enough to clear groups of enemies, shields, or bust up Dozer's faceplates. There isn't much else to say here, honestly. It does its job and it does it properly. For my melee weapon, I'll be bringing the electrical brass knuckles to stun enemies, and for my throwable, I'll bring concussion grenades to stun enemies. You could also opt for incendiary grenades if you're bringing a saw instead of grenade launcher, or just want a little more oomph with your stun. Grab your Iron Man armor and you've got yourself the basic build. It's a good, simple, rustic build. I'll touch on how best to use it just after the break. Welcome back. So, how does this build work? It just does. If you've ever played a shooter, hell, if you've even played any amount of Payday at all, the basics of the basic build should come naturally. You have an assault rifle, you shoot things with it. Now, its accuracy isn't perfect, so you'll want to close the gap to your target as much as possible, and swap to single fire mode to deal with distant snipers. As for auto fire mode, which you'll be using most of the time ideally, you can shorten downtime by scoring 2 kills prior to reloading. The UAR's inherently low mag capacity works to the benefit of lock and load aced, granting a 90% reload speed increase. If you're able to combine it with the speed pole mag, many of your reloads will feel near instantaneous. When met with a wall of enemies, particularly shields, the compact grenade launcher will be your friend. 1 shot should be enough to kill shields, and 2 shots should be plenty to deal with most anything aside from bulldozers. It may take you a few tries to get used to the arc, but with some practice, you'll get the hang of it. These weapons should be fairly ammo efficient thanks to fully loaded aced. If you're constantly running out of ammo, chances are your shots are being wasted by missing too frequently, killing enemies that are too far away to restock with, or not prioritizing medics. Seriously, repeatedly attempting to kill enemies who are just being healed back to full health by medics is the biggest waste of ammo you may not realize you're guilty of. Focus fire medics, especially medic dosers if you're on death sentence, before anything else. If you're still struggling, keep in mind you can bring double stuffed ammo bags as your deployable. If others on your team already have them, doctor bags are also an option, or vice versa. Jack of all trades was simply too expensive to be worth it in my opinion, if you're wondering. And of course, on heists where it's beneficial, a secondary saw is recommended. Deposit boxes can be opened with a single tap of the trigger. Don't hold it down or you'll waste ammo. Make sure you bring incendiary grenades to deal with shields and Captain Winters now that your grenade launcher isn't an option. If you're using concussion grenades, they're a great tool for temporarily shutting down firefights for long enough to run to the objective, reload, or rescue a teammate. Just try not to tag yourself or friendlies with them too often. Now, while the point of this build is simplicity, I'd highly consider trying animation canceling. It's a good trick. Both the UAR and the compact grenade launcher will actually finish reloading before the animation is done. Thus, you can start firing, swapping weapons, or sprinting far earlier than the animation suggests. For the UAR, the second the magazine is first inserted is when you can start firing, and for the compact, it's as soon as the grenade is inserted into the launcher. Moving on, cloakers are probably your biggest concern, as they can down you straight past your swan song. Your best option is to kill them before they get the chance, or stun them with your electrical brass knuckles. Stick to cover as often as possible, and only break when you have to, or when assaults are winding down. When push comes to shove, swan song can carry you just around that corner, let you take down that minigun dozer, or if you're careful, allow you to finish repairing that drill. And this is why I grabbed Basic Hardware Expert. Prior to the swan song nerf, the skill lasted for 9 seconds. Repairing a drill by default takes 10, meaning you could start repairing a drill in a firefight, and so long as you survived for at least a second, use swan song to finish repairing. Now that swan song clocks in at 6 seconds, the 4 seconds that you would need to stay alive is simply too long. Basic Hardware Expert cuts down the time it takes to make repairs to 7.5 seconds, meaning you'll only need to live for a second and a half in order to use swan song's 6 seconds of relative invincibility to get the drill restarted and keep making progress. Now, I doubt I have to lecture you on how Inspire works, but in case it wasn't obvious, you shouldn't waste Inspire on downed teammates at point-blank range. Things can go to hell faster than Inspire's charge can regenerate. It's better to manually revive teammates when there isn't an immediate threat. This build is a great option for all difficulties, including death sentence, and on 1 down if you've opted for 9 lives aced. Are there better specialized builds out there? Of course, but your strengths may vary. While a sniper or shotgun, grinder, or dodge build may be superior, the basic build will allow you to compete on higher difficulties without much in the way of skill. Pick up a gun and start heisting. That's really it. And if you aren't Infamy 5, there's an Infamy 1 version available in the description. Oh, and if you liked the video, I'd appreciate it if you thought about subscribing. That way you can check out the updated version of this build I'll inevitably have to make when Overkill decides to rebalance the game again. Thanks for watching, and take it easy.